Mr. Jackson's coming here. Let's call the Monday, December 7th, 2020 meeting to order. Before Mr. Wall leads us in a pledge, let's all remember during the pledge, 79 years ago, the men that died defending what this pledge is all about. Thank you. To the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, a nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The agenda is before you. Do I hear any changes, amendments? Do I hear a motion? We approve it. Motion by Ms. Harden. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Wall. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Next is the time we allow the public to comment on anything on the agenda or anything else on the City of Dalton on your mind. David Aft.
My name is David Aft. I'm the president of the Community Foundation of Northwest Georgia. I am here tonight to speak on behalf of the constituents of Burr Park, including the boards of directors of the Community Foundation and others, and say thank you to the council for their continued leadership, not just with Burr Park, but with our wonderful park system. I've spent a good amount of time in the last several years extolling the virtues of Dalton and trying to sell it to people who don't live here, but ought to. And the park system is something that we have that is attractive not only to future residents, but to the people who live here. An investment in Burr Park, as you are about to make in partnership with the Community Foundation, is deeply appreciated. Since its inception and creation, 30,000 people plus have visited Burr Park, and it's where we welcome the world to Dalton, Georgia. So I want to say thank you. I stand ready to answer any questions you may have, but this would not have been possible without the support of the council, Jason Parker, the folks at Parks and Rec, and all the other people who've made this happen. We can't wait to get started on the project.
Any questions, David? Thank you, David.
Thank you.
Margaret, I didn't forget.
Margaret Thigpen, Director of Tourism with the Convention and Visitors Bureau and the Convention Center. And I wanted to make the council aware, as well as our Parks and Recreation, that Heritage Park has been selected by one of our senior softball organizations for a national award, the Southern Region Complex of the Year. It's the ISA, it's senior softball. And this is a group that actually came to us. They originally were supposed to go to Chattanooga in August of 2020. And they ended up coming to Dalton because we were open and able to work with them. And with that being said, we won this award out of 75 to 80 other complexes. So that's a huge honor. They are returning at the state level in January and April to Heritage Point, and then again in August 2021 at the national level. So I just wanted to say thank you to our Parks and Recreation and that team, because it makes our job a lot easier when they do theirs so well. I also have given the city council and mayor a list of our 2021 calendar of events as we know it. It is front and back, and I think it's pretty impressive. If we don't have confirmed contracts, dates, or whatnot, you'll see pending next to the title. For instance, the robotics is still pending because they're not sure which way they're going to go yet for 2021. Last but not least, we have social distancing with Santa this Sunday at the Convention Center. We have it all over our Facebook page, our website page, but it is Sunday, December 13th, 12 to 4. It is a drive-through, if you will. The only time you will get out of your car is to actually sit on the bench in front of Santa's sleigh. That is 6 feet plus. And then you'll get back in your car and drive through to get your sweet treats, hot chocolate, and cider. And we are working with a professional photographer who will be there to capture the moment. So thank you.
Thank you, Margaret. Minutes are before you from the November 16th, 2020 meeting. Any changes, deletions, additions? If not, do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Goodlett. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Wall. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Unfinished business, second reading on ordinance 20-16, updating Chapter 6 alcohol beverage codes to provide for the home delivery of alcohol, to provide for carryout of alcohol, to provide for tasting events, to provide for license fees, to provide an effective date, to repeal all ordinances conflicting therewith, to provide for severability and for other purposes. Mr. Vaughn?
Mr. Mayor, this ordinance was reviewed at our last council meeting. Primarily, this started with the governor's executive order that allowed for pickup of alcohol at our local restaurants. This is an extension of that statewide that allows for the delivery of packaged goods, both wine, beer, and spirits for those who comply. It does require that the deliveries be subject to all other obligations under the alcohol ordinances of the city, as well as the State Department of Revenue. These deliveries, if approved by the council, would only be within the jurisdiction of the city. But I can answer any other questions you may have.
How does this affect grocery stores?
Grocery stores, the definition of a retail delivery outlet is very broad under the Department of Revenue's guidelines. And so that would allow them to make deliveries as well.
Okay.
They can deliver them with their own employees, or these companies can also deliver through a third-party delivery service as well.
Any other questions? Your motion on this? Motion by Mr. Walzer, second.
Second.
Second by Mr. Cruz. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign.
Aye.
Under new business, 3 new 2020 to 2021 alcohol applications.
Is there anyone here this evening representing Tienda Tecol Cochina? Okay, this is going to be a new license for the sale of packaged beer. This business is located on 4th Avenue. And these have already gone before the Public Safety Commission. A new license for pouring beer, pouring wine, and pouring liquor for Los Pablos Mexican Restaurant, located at 2204 Chattanooga Road. Anyone representing that business? And then third, Pablito's Cantina. This is located 933 Market Street. And it's going to be a new license for pouring beer, pouring wine, and pouring liquor. Anyone from that business? Okay. As said, these have gone before and have been approved by the Public Safety Commission.
You make that in form of a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Harlan, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Cruz. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Application renewals, let's take 3 first, 2021 alcohol application renewals with changes. Are they all the same changes?
So there's a designated agent change on Baja Coop. There's a designated agent change on Cyrus Open Range and Garden, and only an address change for VIP liquor.
Right, these all gone before the public? You make that in form of a motion? Motion by Ms. Harlan, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Goodlett. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. There's 109 alcohol application renewals without changes.
These have also gone in front of, there are no changes, as you said. These have also gone in front of the Public Safety Commission. I make a motion they be approved.
Motion by Ms. Harlan, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Cruz. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. 4 2021 pawnbroker application renewals. Who does, is that you, Jason?
Mr. Mayor, all of these items would have been approved by the Public Safety Commission.
Well, still public, okay.
Most recent meeting. No changes. Yes, sir.
Is that a motion, Ms. Harlan?
Yes.
Motion by Ms. Harlan, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Cruz. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Number 4, contract for purchasing plan to purchase 2 Sutphen pumper apparatus from Williams Fire Purchasing through HGAC Houston Galveston Purchasing Area Council. Chief?
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor. This is a contract for purchasing plan. This is to purchase 2 Sutphen pumper apparatus. This is funded through the 2020 SPLOST. This is actually a multi-year plan. This is a plan that we negotiated with Sutphen, who is the manufacturer of the trucks that we currently own and operate. The benefits of this plan to the city is by entering this contract, we're guaranteed a maximum price increase throughout the life of the contract. This price increase is guaranteed not to increase more than 3%. If Sutphen were to not have a 3% increase over the life of that contract between now and 2024, then we would not have to pay the 3%, but it does maximize at 3%. The plan would be to order the first truck first quarter of 2021. Currently, the build time for these trucks are 18 to 24 months. So we would not plan to take delivery of the first pumper until the third or fourth quarter of 2022. The second truck would be ordered during the first quarter of 2022 and would either be received in the fourth quarter of 2023 or first quarter of 2024. So if you look, that's a potential of saving 3 to 6% annually, depending on what the economy is doing at the time and the price increases that they have. So just as a rule of thumb, we can say that we plan to save 6 to 8% over the life of this contract minimum. And so, as I said, this is for the 2020 splosh that was approved by the committee. I'd be happy to answer any questions that anyone would have on this. And, oh yeah, this is also through Houston Galveston Purchasing Council. So therefore it's satisfied all the requirements for the RFPs and procurement laws that the state of Georgia has.
But you're not going to get your 2 fire trucks before Christmas?
No, sir.
Any questions? There a motion on this?
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Harden, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Goodlett. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Number 5, updated employee lease agreements with the DDDA, DWCDC, DWRS, WMA, and CBB.
Mayor, I believe Ms. Jackson is with us online.
Yes, Mayor Pennington, as you recall, we had updated our lease agreement with Northwest Georgia Trading Convention Center. And at the time, we realized that we had not updated these other lease agreements in a while. So these are just updating those. And we did also assess an administrative fee that will be charged starting 2021 and going forward.
Any questions, Cindy? Is there a motion on this? Motion by Ms. Harlan, is there a second? Second by Mr. Wall. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Number 6, traffic control change, no parking south side of the street between 7 a.m. and 11 p.m. and no parking north side of the street at any time for Hale, Bowen Drive. Andrew?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Council. Within the last couple of years, approximately a dozen new homes have been constructed on Hale, Bowen Drive near Park Creek Elementary. And since that time, Public Works has been receiving some complaints about overflow vehicles from these homes parking in the street, which directly disrupts Park Creek's morning arrival and afternoon dismissal traffic queues because there's only one way in and out to Park Creek. And I'll note that on page 72 of your packet, you can see photos of the typical dilemma with traffic congestion out there during arrival and dismissal times and school buses having to enter the wrong lane of traffic to get around some of these parked vehicles. So further, the city is actively pursuing 2 multi-purpose fields to be constructed as part of the 2020 SPLOST to the east of this location, which will be accessed by Hale, Bowen Drive. So after reviewing this matter internally with the Public Works Committee, Dalton Public Schools, and Public Safety Departments, the recommendation is to prohibit parking at all times on the north side of the street, and on the south side, prohibit parking between 7A and 11P. This proposal will address the areas of concern, but it also will not place an undue burden on these residents because it would give them a chance after 11 to return and park in the street. And I will note that all of these houses were constructed with 2-car driveways, so there should be ample room within the property to park, but if they're having guests or something, as long as it's after 11, they would be permitted to park on the south side if this was adopted. And this receives a positive recommendation from the Public Works Committee from our meeting on Friday.
Any questions of Andrew? Your motion on this?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Goodlett, is there a second? Second by Ms. Harlan. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Number 7, change order number 1, additional milling and resurfacing locations for 2020 Lemig milling and resurfacing various city streets.
The city is currently under contract with Northwest Georgia Paving for the 2020 milling and resurfacing program that's due to be complete by May 31st, 2021. That project included 5 streets. What we're proposing to do is add 8 additional residential streets to the scope of work, which totals 1.33 centerline miles at an estimated unit pricing of $234,975. This change order will be funded primarily from the $200,000 transfer payment from Whitfield County related to the service delivery agreement. And this also received a positive recommendation from the Public Works Committee on Friday.
Questions, Andrew? Your motion on this? Motion by Mr. Wall, is there a second? Second by Ms. Harlan. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Number 8, professional service agreement with Southeastern Engineering, Inc. for engineering design services on the North Thornton Avenue sidewalk drainage and operation improvements project.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Public Works is actively pursuing a sidewalk connectivity project on North Thornton Avenue between Tyler Street and Bryan Street to the north, which is just south of Hamilton Medical Center. It's about half a mile in distance. Currently, there are no pedestrian accommodations and a lot of pedestrian activity out there. So using 2015 SPLOST funding, we're pursuing sidewalk connectivity in that section, but we also realize we're going to have to upgrade some guardrail and address some existing drainage issues. And so to do that, we're requesting design from Southeastern Engineering, which has helped the city on several projects in the past. We've come in under budget with them. So this services agreement is for a cost not to exceed $55,000. The reason this is needed also is because we're going to let this project to bids to private contractors, so we have to have a detailed set of plans. And also there will be some coordination with CSX due to, we feel like there's probably going to be some right-of-way encroachments just because of how wide the right-of-way is in that section. So, and again, this would be funded by the 2015 SPLOST. It was reviewed Friday at the Public Works Committee and carries their recommendation.
I'm assuming this will not do anything to damage that canopy that you drive through there and all that?
In no certain terms, when I was hired with the city, I understood that that was sacred. So no, we will not be destroying the canopy.
Good. Any questions of Andrew? Your motion on this?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Goodlett. Is there a second? Second by Ms. Harlan. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Number 9, professional service agreement with Lowry and Associates for survey on North Thornton Avenue sidewalk drainage operation improvements project.
So again, this is related to the previous item. We need detailed topographical survey in that section, which will be handled by a local surveyor at a cost of $8,900 plus $3,450 per day as needed, where we're doing survey within railroad right-of-way because we've got to hire a CSX flagger while we're doing that work. And this will also be funded by the project account in the 2015 SPLOST and was reviewed Friday by the Public Works Committee.
Any questions of Andrew? Your motion on this? Motion by Ms. Harlan. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Goodlett. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Number 11, Resolution 20-29, authorizing payment of city employee retirement benefits for sworn firefighters and police officers. Greg? Let's skip number 10. I sure did. No, all right. No, let's do this one first. Resolution 20-28, authorizing the execution of an agreement with the Community Foundation of Northwest Georgia, Inc. pertaining to the design and construction of concession and restroom facilities at Burr Park.
Thank you, Mayor. This resolution recommends approval for the city to partner with the Community Foundation to construct a concession and restroom facility at the park. Under the agreement, the Community Foundation will manage the design and construction process of the facility. The foundation will use $300,000 it already has in possession and private funding, and it commits up to $300,000 in city funding towards the project. Foundation funding will be used first. The city funding will, under the agreement terms, be issued to the foundation in 3 equal progress payments throughout the process, and our City Public Works Department will assist in the project by providing site preparation. Happy to answer any questions and ask for approval of Resolution 20-28.
Any questions of Jason? Is there a motion on that? Motion by Ms. Harlan. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Wall. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, like sign. I'm sure that some of our guests here wonder why I was skipping them. But, number 11, Resolution 20-29. Again, Greg.
As you all know, we've got fantastic police and firefighters, and in fact, fantastic employees. However, the police and firefighters each have state associations that have an annuity, an additional or supplemental annuity that they make available to their members. And we, the Public Safety Commission, myself, several other people have talked about the city paying the monthly fee for those supplemental annuities as opposed to having the employees pay that themselves as a way to attract and retain our top-notch employees that we have in those positions. So the recommendation is that the city pays the cost on behalf of the certified and sworn firefighters and police officers starting in January of 2021.
How much is that?
It's right around $45,000 a year for both.
For all of them?
Total.
Any questions? Your motion on that? Motion by Ms. Harlan. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Wall. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, like sign. Under number 12, Resolution 20-30, authorizing expansion of city employee defined contribution plan retirement benefits.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Our continued quest to attract and retain not only good police officers and firefighters, but extends to the rest of our employees as well. And part of that is looking at part of our benefits. Our defined contribution plan, a lot of places have 401ks, but ours is similar. It's 457 and a 403b. Very similar. We're requesting a change to that plan to whereby all employees that are eligible, in other words, not in the old pension plan, receive a 5% base to their retirement. They also would receive an employer match for their funds that they put in out of their own pocket of up to an additional 5%. And the request is also to change our vesting schedule to a 1-year cliff vest from a 3-year staggered vest.
What percentage of our employees are under the new plan?
Probably 75. I don't know about the utility, but I would say it's probably about the same because we run close to the same number of employees.
Questions, Greg? Your motion on this? Motion by Ms. Harlan. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Goodlett. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, like sign. Number 13, first reading of ordinance 20-17, and ordinance of the City of Dalton to approve the recommendation of the City Pension Board for the amendment of the City of Dalton Pension Plan, to amend the City of Dalton Pension Plan to provide clarification of death benefits, survivor benefits, and benefits of terminated participants, to provide for the payment to the estate of a deceased beneficiary, to provide for continuing education of members of the pension board, to provide an effective date, and for other purposes.
I will try not to numb everyone's mind. I want to hit some bullet points on this because it's a rather large document that was sent to you. This has actually been close to a 2-year process. Periodically, we have to review the plan to make sure we're continually in compliance with federal law changes, state law changes, things of that nature. During the review this time, we found some things that needed to be addressed and were addressed. City attorney, myself, pension board, have looked at these, and I'll just kind of run down the list rather quickly with you. Obviously, we corrected any grammatical and punctuation errors, but also there were some cross-reference errors where it would refer to another area of the pension plan. And over the years, as things got changed, those cross-references were incorrect. So those got corrected. In addition, there was no provision if a person died and their estate was the beneficiary. Estates aren't left open for 8-10 years. They're closed as soon as possible. So the provision was added to pay a lump sum payment to the person's estate as opposed to paying it month by month. Another provision was added for persons who have frozen benefits, those people that terminated employment and decided to wait and postpone their pension payments. If something were to happen to them, there was no provision as to when the beneficiary could start drawing those benefits. So that was clarified. And it was clarified to the point that the beneficiary could claim the benefits at the same time the participant could have claimed those benefits were they still living. So that made perfect sense to everyone. And also there's some housekeeping things. The state passed a law where the pension board has to attend X number of continuing education hours per year based on their, to educate them on their fiduciary responsibilities, things of that nature. So that's the nutshell, and I'll be happy to answer any questions anyone might have.
Basically, this is a cleanup is what this is.
It's a cleanup and a clarification, and also there's some worry and concern. There's not any additional language about freezing any benefits or anything of that nature in there that we had talked about earlier. That's not in there, obviously, since we didn't do that. So it's ready to go. It's been approved and recommended to you all for approval by the pension board.
Any questions? There a motion on that? Or is it a first reading? We're not taking action on this tonight.
Right.
Number 14, ordinance 20-18, the request of Hammond Creek Capital LLC to annex parcels A and B totaling 91.745 acres into the city of Dalton as general commercial C2 located at North Bypass, parcels 12-163-05-005 and 12-166-06-000.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Calhoun is with us online as well. This matter came through the Planning Commission.
Oh, Ethan's on the.
Yes, sir. He should be.
Okay.
He should be coming on any second.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you. Can you all hear me clearly?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, very good. I'll be very brief on the first item here in the annexation. I think everyone received the recommendation from staff as well as the recommendation from the Planning Commission. And at our meeting last week, the staff recommendation was to approve this annexation based primarily on the fact that when you look at the map, you will see that the subject property surrounded on the majority of its boundaries already by the city of Dalton's corporate boundary. And this is an area, as you can see, beyond the subject property that we have essentially what is almost essentially an island of county property within the city. And so this would help to reduce that and create a more consistent boundary for the city. And therefore the recommendation is to approve both from staff as well as the Planning Commission. And we heard no opposition during the public hearing. I'm happy to answer any questions.
There's another piece to this which involves the TAD out there, which that will be taken up the last meeting of the month when we're doing the TAD at Market Street also. That's the reason it's not on there tonight. Any questions, Ethan? Is there a motion on this? Motion by Ms. Harlan. Is there a second? Second. Second by Mr. Wall. All in favor say aye. All opposed, like sign. Number 15, the request of Anita Salmons to rezone from low-density single-family residential R3 to neighborhood commercial C1, a tract of land totaling 0.07 acres located at 830 McAfee Street, Dalton, Georgia, parcel 12-218-02-011. Ethan?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I will say that unlike the last item, this particular analysis was a difficult one. As you look at the staff analysis, it should be included in the packet, and we look at the zoning map in this area very conclusively is medium density residential. That includes the subject property. It's in a very consistent zone district in the city. And but a further look at the property, you can look at the aerial maps, those of you that may be familiar with this community and this site specifically. You look at the subject property, and the building that's on it currently is a commercial building. Historically, it was built, I believe, according to the tax assessor, I want to say 1958. So it's an older commercial building. It's been here actually several years before the city of Dalton adopted a zoning ordinance. And I went back as far in our records as possible to find out why some of the issues on the property occurred in regard to the setback issues, as well as lack of essentially no parking on this property, even though it's a commercial property. And again, this property was developed initially with the structure that's on it now prior to the adoption of a zoning ordinance, and therefore it was likely that some of these setbacks and parking requirements may not have existed at that time, and therefore we have this sort of hardship property under current ordinances. And even back in 1960, the parking requirements for a commercial building like this were actually more required more spaces than we currently do in our current unified zoning ordinance. So it's interesting that this property was developed with no parking at that time. And of course, that begs or really illustrates one of the primary issues found in this rezoning application was that the subject property, the structure upon the property has no parking and encroaches in both the front and two sides of the setback area very significantly, so significantly that there is no possibility to create a buffer between this commercial property and the adjacent residential dwellings to the west and the east along McAfee Street. And when we look also at other codes, I believe there's a fire code that's referenced in an attached letter from the fire department that states that the setback required for a restaurant would be greater than other commercial uses, primarily due to the fact that the exhaust vent for the restaurant, the range hood, I believe it is, requires a more significant setback because of the chance for impacting adjacent properties. And therefore, it's another issue in regard to setbacks on this property and how this rezoning and the proposed use for a restaurant could impact or would have an impact on those adjacent properties. This would have been a grandfathered property, a non-conforming property for a number of years. Of course, the commercial use of the property has ceased quite a few years. It became, I believe, a little blighted over time and has recently, I think, seen some investment in its facade. But because the commercial use of the property ceased for a period greater than 12 months, it is no longer considered grandfathered in use, and therefore that's why the petitioner had to come forth and request this rezoning. Because of the setback issues, because of after an exhausting research of methods to satisfy parking, including is there a possibility for on-street parking, McAfee Street on both sides, east and west, are clearly signed that there is no on-street parking permitted, and there's no adjacent property, immediately adjacent property that could be utilized for parking. And unfortunately, the property in the open area in the rear of the property, which could support a number of parking spaces, there's no way to create an alleyway through the subject property to access that point. And therefore, there's no really feasible way to accommodate really any parking at all on this property. And the street parking can't, there's no overflow for public parking. And with those issues identified, staff could not give a recommendation to approve the C1 rezoning, and the Planning Commission, after a considerable deliberation, were unable to recommend this rezoning and recommended a denial. And we did not hear at the public hearing any opposition. We have received some phone calls in opposition and some outreach from neighbors. We have also received comments in favor of this rezoning outside of the public hearing, just in general outreach. There was also a petition presented to the Planning Commission by the petitioner that was a signed petition with a number of names in excess of 50 individuals who had signed this petition in favor of this rezoning. But again, at the public hearing, the only comments heard were from the petitioners, those individuals requesting to rezone the property. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Questions of Ethan?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to recuse myself from this one.
No, Mr. Goodley's recused himself from this.
Is the restaurant?
Which is nothing right now.
Right, I know,
Yeah,
no, right now. They're looking to, Ethan, they're looking to open a restaurant.
Yes, sir. The request was to open a restaurant. During the public hearing, the petitioner did elaborate upon that in that it would be a restaurant slash convenience store where individuals, residents in the neighborhood could potentially purchase kind of staple items and also some food, sandwiches and things like that. So kind of a multi-use restaurant slash kind of neighborhood market.
Petitioners say where they expected people to park, or it was just going to be a drive-through.
They had stated that that there were some potential properties that they had received verbal permission to allow parking on. It was stated in the meeting by the petitioner that someone at the Matt Gaston Community Center had stated that that parking would be potentially a way to park individuals who could then walk to the property. That's a pretty significant distance based on our review of that, and there's a lack of sidewalk on the south right of way of McAfee Street. So without a crosswalk or anything, there's not really a directly connected or safe pedestrian infrastructure at that location currently. But that was stated during the meeting. The petitioner did note that there were some adjacent or some nearby properties, including the Matt Gaston Center, that the owners had or operators had given verbal permission to accommodate parking.
And you said you had some calls from neighbors that were opposed to it.
Yes, sir, we did. And in fact, some individuals actually came to the public hearing before the public hearing had began, and they left before it had started, and just essentially verbally spoke to Ms. Garland and myself and stated that they were in opposition of it, but upon discovering that the staff had recommended a denial, they decided to go back home before the meeting proceeded. But we have had several phone calls in opposition. But again, we've also had some support as well for it. It's so far more verbal opposition than we've had support, with the exception of the petition.
But y'all's recommendation is to deny.
Yes, sir. Our recommendation was to deny based on the fact we were unable to determine any long-term solutions to the issues, including the buffers and the parking. Yes, sir.
Any other questions? Is there a motion on this?
So moved that it be denied.
Motion by Ms. Harlan to deny. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Wall. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Number 16, Gov Connection Network Hardware and Security Refresh Project. Is that you, Jorge?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, that's me. Okay, so this project is for the refresh of the entire network for the hardware and security. We've been in the works for this for almost 7 months already. And before you, I included the quotes for the proposed network. And this is all the equipment again and the security part of it. Then, of course, this is the two-phase contract. Well, not a contract. It's just to agree on which quote we're going to be going on. And I have selected the best one amongst three. Gov Connection is included in the Georgia State contract, and so is Fortinet. So everything should be a go. And as proposed on the Finance Committee meeting, this project will entitle two parts, which before you is the hardware, and the second phase will be the implementation, and which will be requiring professional services during for the implementation. And during the Finance Committee meeting, we also presented this with a total of $558,858, which was approved. And please remember that right now is a very critical time to approve of this, because ransomware is among us, And right now, we're at a point where we need to refresh our hardware. We're starting to see some equipment fail. We have issued RMAs for the failing equipment, and we have had success, replacing it. But it is time to replace.
My question, will we have to see you again in 5 years?
Maybe, because I help you out here with the mayor and council meeting.
They have to,
Duration of 5 years.
have to appear by Zoom.
I hope
so.
not.
All right, fantastic.
Thank you.
Any other questions, Jorge? Your motion on this?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Goodletts, is there a second? Second by Mr. Wall. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, like sign.
Thank you all.
Any supplemental business come before this body? If not, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. We're adjourned.